Here we go.
Hello, welcome to Tech Talk. In the April show, we're going to look at what's the worst thing that can happen in IT. Is it a disaster of the infrastructure? Is it something that happens with legality? Is it something that may go wrong with a breach of trust or a hack or breach of your data? Stay tuned.
Hey, thanks for sticking in and watching Tech Talk. So today we're talking about bad things, whether it's bad sharing or through
Stolen
social
information,
network
yeah.
or crashes of some sort.
I think from one end to the other, from crashes to burn-ups to you name it.
But I don't know if I feel like I'm in control of the bad or the good things that are happening. We've looked over the last few months about taking control of your security, passwords. We did some slides and an explanation of updating your computer, updating your phones, and how many times we're going to see that over and over. But this month, what we're going to do is spend some time looking over IT disasters and some of the things that we should look at, kind of balance them, and how could you get started without at least talking about what's most in the news. And I think we ought to start by talking about what's happening in the Congress. We've had the Senate and the House having some discussions about hearings, and the person in the hot seat this time was Mark Zuckerberg.
Wow. Yeah.
CEO and the founder of Facebook. And wouldn't you love to be able to keep your composure when you had that many cameras, focused on you?
Yeah.
So everybody wanted to know who's sitting behind Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, there was there was questions at the hearing. They were like, "Didn't you used to work for us or something?" I don't remember the exact conversation, but it was like, "Didn't you used to work for somebody?"
If you were speaking to the House
Yep.
and the Senate, and you were a geek, you were the CEO of a geek squad, so to speak, wouldn't you want to have somebody help you and coach you?
Oh, definitely.
I think our political candidates get that when they go through trial debates and practice rehearsals.
And they have a little earpiece. It's like, what was that?
I think, was Mark wearing an earpiece?
I don't know. I didn't watch it.
Okay.
I did not see one. So.
All right. Well, I think some of those people were involved in his legal counsel and some of his people assisting him in how he would answer.
Yeah.
But you watched it on Sunday.
I did.
C-SPAN.
Yeah. I watched it again and just to make sure I heard and you still pick up things afterward. You watch it once and then you watch it again and you pick up. Oh, wait a minute. Did he say that? Yeah. God,
So do you
that
think
you didn't hear the first time?
I
Do
thought
you think
watched,
something happened that was not supposed to happen, or do you think people didn't realize what their business is?
I think the government didn't realize what Facebook is. That was what I kept hearing over and over was, you're sharing it, you're sharing our information publicly or without that. And what I kept hearing from Zuckerberg was, well, you put it in right there, and there's a button, real plain. You click for everyone or public or just friends. You over and over and over.
Does this slide say it all, though?
Yeah.
And it's not meant to be a mean meme,
Mm-hmm.
but not everybody understands how the internet works. And social networking versus social media is a tough concept to get your head around. And how do you get evaluation of a business in the billions of dollars in a short period of time without at least understanding how that model works?
You're right. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things that could be done similar in different situations. Like if they're counting cars that's going down the highway, or they're also counting cars and doing license plate scans. You know, and so you get to know who's running the road and how many people go down the road, and then you use that information and you give it to people who need that information. And they do the same kind of thing. And it's a marketing deal. You know, people wonder what kind of people like this, or how many people like this versus that. You know, that's their thing. That's where they make money.
If you were creating a product for sales, you would have pilot test groups. You would have groups that discussed this and that, and you would find out whether or not it was a product that somebody wanted. You know, you could say, I want peanut butter with bacon chips in it, and you put that on the market. You're going to test target those things.
Right.
And let's say Ohio has always been one of those types of, you know, between the coast type of states that they test things out on. You know, I don't think anybody really understands, you know, social networking and social media and the model of how it is funded. Because what did the meme say at the bottom? We sell ads, Senator.
We sell ads.
And you can't do anything without selling the ads. And what do the advertisers want?
We want the right people to see our ads. So that's where they get your profile to show you the right ads, and other people that want to show ads. Here's the profiles.
We're on the slippery slope.
We are, and the question that, you know, that another question that it kind of caught me off guard was one of the senators said, well, if I don't like your product, what other product could I use? And Mark was kind of like, well, I don't understand your question. And he was like, well, if I like a Ford and then all of a sudden I decide that it's crap and I go to a Chevy, just like that, what's the other product I can use besides Facebook? And they're like, and Mark was like, well, you know, we have competitors.
But they're very small.
Yeah, but does he really? I mean, he has competitors for
like
pieces of it, but not all of it.
Right.
So in a sense, and one of the other senators said, do you think you have a monopoly? And that's a hard question. And I think it depends on how you want to look at it. I think he could have a monopoly if you look at it the right way.
Oh, sure. I mean, some of my friends are going to a different network called MeWe, and, you know,
but it doesn't do everything.
But it's nice, but who's there?
Right.
If you're making comparisons to automotive industry and social networking, and the different manufacturers were saying, we produce sports cars only, and just really rugged SUVs. Then you had a company that provided a little bit of everything that you wanted, and it became the most popular. And everybody decided to buy there because, you know, I'm not a sports car guy anymore. I get gray hair. And, you know, I'm an environmentalist. I don't want that big thing. Well, I think, you know, with MySpace being out there in the market and with all of those other social networking ones, and Pat put up the slide of all of the different names that we recognize, there is competition. If you want to, you know, just look at YouTubes, if you want to go out and follow business LinkedIn contacts, or you want to go and you know, look at just tweet feeds, you know, how can you compete with the president in the morning if he's on Twitter?
Right.
It is a tough question, and you have a real hard time, you know, attacking that senator because you're the one in the seat there at the hearing.
Oh, I agree.
And the thing that I noticed is that one of the discussion points, the boundary was, are you a social network or are you a media platform?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he asked that multiple.
You know, there we're getting down to it. You know, are you safeguarding the data? And if you are having ads, and the ads are political in nature, now, or they're doing social commentary, not just the sharing among your friends, have you crossed that line into the same realm that our broadcast and print media is? And they have oversight. They have oversight from certain federal committees that make sure that it's fair and that it's balanced.
And that's my biggest problem is them kicking people off of social networks like Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook because they're more left-leaning. And if you come out as a more right-leaning person, then it's like, well, we don't like what you're saying, we'll kick you off. And that's not quite right.
They had
those questions
examples
were
there.
asked.
Yeah, they had examples there to where there was pages taken down. That was just
Like Diamond and Silk.
Yeah.
They said they were dangerous.
Yeah.
How dangerous is Diamond and Silk?
I can't explain that one. I don't know, but I think
They're
the
fun
whole,
to watch. I like.
it would be interesting to see the process of why they got taken down. Is it a human person saying taking it down, or is it an algorithm saying taking it down?
I think it's a human or a committee.
Yeah. Well, I think, as he
being on the
said,
left
there was
coast.
20,000 people. He employs almost 20,000 people doing that kind of stuff. So, is there somebody? There's 20,000 people going, I don't like that one. Click. You're
Well, somebody
taken
probably
down.
got mad. It's like, I don't like that. I don't think that's
Yeah.
right. And then they report this page, and then they review it.
I don't know. I would like to see how they.
Okay,
But I'm
so,
all-
so we
I'm
all
all
agree
about
that
free
there are some
speech.
things at Facebook that can be fixed.
Oh yeah. Well, and what was their motto? Like, go fast and break things or something. They kept saying that too. So.
In that environment, at that period of time,
Yeah.
there were no regulations,
Yeah.
and they did hopefully work in the best interest of their participants or
Their clientele, I guess.
the clients.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
things break. There are corrections.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think if they did the right things by putting up help and support pages that showed people how to get to their data so that they could see what actually has been collected. And I haven't gotten off of Facebook, but I've talked to people who have that say, yeah, when I've deleted my account and I go back to create an account under the same name, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now,
Well, you gotta make sure and do it right, because if you don't do it right, your stuff is still there. It's just hidden. And when you bring it back up, it's like, hey, all my stuff's
well,
back.
who says they haven't already lost my information and it's out there?
Right.
Or who says that they actually deleted it? And the question that came to Zuckerberg was, so there was an app, and the app collected data from people that also went across that boundary of their friends, grabbed their contact information and their profiles, and then it was wholesaled out to a data analytics firm.
Yes.
They were ordered to delete it. How do you know they deleted it? I don't know.
Well, they just took their word.
How do you prove a negative?
Yeah. So this morning on NPR, I hear about another Facebook story and about how when you have a picture and you're tagged,
Yeah.
people put a name and they look at your picture and they do a 2D rendering like biometrics
Yeah.
that says this is who you are. And then when that picture shows up again, the algorithms in Facebook can say, hey, Mike's in your picture. Would you
Yeah.
like to tag him?
Yeah.
Well, even my iPhone, when I take pictures, it will go through all my pictures, and you can say, let me see all the pictures of Mom,
Yeah.
and then it's grouped in that. I didn't do
Did
it.
your mom opt into that?
No,
She didn't opt
she doesn't
in.
like her picture taken.
But the opt-in, opt-out
Yeah,
question
that
was,
is where it's going. And when you get an iPhone 10 and it has biometrics and you've agreed to have your 3D profile biometrically defined so that you can authenticate into your device, you opt into it.
Right.
Who gets that information of your face, and who gets your fingerprint?
Well,
This one's a fingerprint type, not a face, but I've put like 3 of my fingerprints in it. So,
Right. I understand. Yeah. Where does that go? Who has maybe already hacked that out in the world? Is it only stored in the phone? Is it only stored?
and that's
Where?
the bigger thing, because we're preaching all the time, like change your passwords and
Yeah.
keep yourself safe. Well, that isn't where my stuff has gotten leaked.
I want to change my fingerprints.
Yeah. How do
Yeah.
you-
And my
and
face.
face recognition. Yeah.
I think John Travolta was in that movie, wasn't he?
Yeah, face off.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well, hey, I'm interested in some of the other topics we got here as well.
Okay.
I mean, we can talk about Facebook for days
Yeah.
All right.
and days, but
So,
yeah,
I offered a segue, let's say, to
Yeah.
talk about what's the worst thing that can happen. We live in a world where We've either opted in or opted out. We agree or don't agree, or we allow and don't allow. And we've assumed certain things when we join stuff.
Yeah.
But now we have all these other threats, these things that have happened. I have a credit card, I shop at Target, I have an Anthem Health account, and then all of a sudden we're looking at disasters, IT disasters, and it hits it in the news. And can we have the data center shot? The question is, what's the worst thing that can happen? Well, if you are running a data center, a fire, a flood, an explosion is pretty bad. And we've talked about a little bit of the infrastructure of the internet. There's supposed to be some redundancies and backups. But if you were to rate, just off the top of your head, what's the worst thing that can happen to you, or what's the worst thing that can happen to our internet? Mike said EMPs.
Ooh,
Well, that's
that's
an
going to take
attack
out a variety of things.
that will take
Wow.
out the entire electrical grid
Yeah.
and every electronic device. Boom. You're Amish now.
That could
What's an
be the worst.
EMP? Electromagnetic pulse?
Pulse,
Yeah.
right? And there's bombs which are nice because they don't destroy anything, but they just deactivate everything. They go out and boom, send out this pulse, and it just fries everything with transistors.
It's like the Men in Black
Yeah.
blink that just.
Yeah.
Which is
yeah. I
which
like
is why the Army for the longest time used tube type equipment,
Yeah.
because that was nuclear devices couldn't mess with a tube type radio.
Right. But now everything's digital.
Yeah, they went all
So
transistors.
what are the other ones? Solar flares are like EMPs,
Right.
Like it. Yeah.
but it's not coming from a bomb. It's coming from the big, fusion reactor up in
Yeah.
the middle of our
God.
solar system.
And that's something that we can't prevent.
But there are power outages. There are explosions. Someday you may get an update that all of a sudden makes your data center work badly or your computer die. Surely earthquakes, or if you had a tsunami, those things.
Yeah.
But there's also the fact that somebody puts a semicolon in when they're doing some code and hits update, and the
Yeah.
human error
Yep. Yeah.
takes down stuff.
They make me virtually disappear.
Yeah.
All my accounts and everything, poof, I'm no longer here. They're like, where'd all my money
that
go?
sounds
Where's
like
all my health information?
That sounds like a TV show too.
Do they keep you awake at night?
No.
No.
No, not anymore. I think.
I mean, you could stay awake wondering about tornadoes and floods and everything else. You just got to take it as it comes.
I think I have to agree with Mike there. I think we're beyond staying up at night thinking if our identity has been stolen somewhere or our credit card has been stolen somewhere, because it's out of our control.
I
the
have an
only way-
aluminum foil you can use for a hat.
Yeah. I think the things I worry about now are weather related, for my IT environment. Okay, just in my IT environment. Is the weather related? Is the power going to surge something?
Right.
Do I
Like
have all the
our
UPSs in the
lightning
right spots?
strikes.
Yeah, things like that. Those are the type of things that I worry about anymore.
And you and I are
I
in the
do-
same sort of
yeah.
position.
I
We
do
worry about
what I
things that are
can.
local to us.
Yeah, I do what I can to protect my identity. I think I can't help Mike protect his identity. He has to do it himself.
Okay.
So I can help
every-
educate,
Everything's
But
been lost
in the
by
long-
other companies.
right? And we
know.
can't prevent, those banks from being hacked. But is there some way that we can?
Look at how many accidents or IT disasters.
Yeah,
there
look.
have been.
Yeah, look at this.
And we had a word chart up there a little bit ago that says how many times these words get
Yeah.
put up there. That this is like how many different hacks, how many different accounts were lost, whether it's Target or J.P. Morgan Chase or eBay or Home Depot. Remember when the Office of Personnel Management lost all of those federal employees' informations?
Yeah. And these are the ones that actually reported it. What
made
about the ones
news.
that we don't hear about?
Oh, and there's Ashley Madison
know?
up in the upper left.
Yeah.
That's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Well, not for people that don't have an Ashley Madison
yeah.
account.
Yeah, I was like, I'm cool.
But you know, you can't worry about all of those businesses with whom you
Yeah.
have an account.
An account with. You're right.
I mean, I don't have an Anthem account. We are covered by a different healthcare provider, but that's not to say that those things couldn't happen.
Right.
And what's the worst that can happen? I guess if I was under radiation treatment and the power went out.
yeah.
And hopefully, in terms of disaster recovery and business continuity, that
they would-
healthcare facility is taking on proper measures, and
To
that you
make sure
don't have
things-
one data center, you have two.
Yeah.
And that but the Internet of Things, the other part of it is not just hacks and breaches, and I know we've talked about what IoT is.
Yeah.
And you and I especially, we love our devices. And one of the things that happened, I think, just within the last year was we had a denial of service attack on one of the big data centers that managed the name service for all of the websites. And all of a sudden, from around the world, we had all of these signals being focused back on certain targets.
Yep.
So you had machines that got infected, they got hacked, and it could be your doorbell or your wireless cameras or your baby monitor, and then all of a sudden they become the attacker, and they're signaled, okay, let's go after Dwayne's data center.
Yep.
And all of a sudden you have so much traffic, nobody can get to your business. And
Or
that-
your Roomba goes and attacks the dog.
Ooh.
Did any of you see that episode of the X-Files that they did when everything went crazy?
I think so.
That's a shameless
Yeah.
plug for that episode.
that episode,
It,
yeah.
it wasn't the last episode, but it was almost the last of the season.
Then you got automatic tractors that go by GPS. And that's a larger thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so what we now have to worry about are all of those benign devices in our home. Is Alexa and Siri listening to us? Does our smart TV from Samsung, where you can tell it to change the channel,
Yeah.
is it listening?
Or is it
We've
been
unplugged
hacked
a
and
lot of that stuff.
attacking somebody else? You know.
So I don't know.
How would a person know, a everyday person know that their stuff has been hacked and maybe targeting something else?
So let's
What would
let's
be
say
key
one day you
things we
get a
could
call
look
from
for?
Spectrum Cable.
Yeah.
And Spectrum Cable says we're suspending your service because something is happening, and it's inside the house.
Yeah.
It's inside the house. Okay.
Okay, so my wife's a Russian spy.
well, but
Or your mixer.
Yeah.
let's say one of our friends, we'll call
Yeah.
him PD.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, doesn't know how to go through and look at the revision code on his home router.
Right.
And doesn't know that, that nice smart crock pot that he got his wife for Christmas is really going berserk and taking down, an
Yeah.
embassy.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's out there, but we have to become comfortable with it because that's our life now.
It is. Yeah.
And I don't know who sits in that seat with all the cameras in front of them, in front of Congress, but it's typical in our governmental system to find out who's to blame and whether or not we need to have regulation to manage that so that
Yeah.
people do not get harmed.
That'll take a fleet of people.
So
Yeah.
again, I can't remember how many times I've asked this. Who governs the internet?
Good question.
To the FCC.
This slide is good. You know what? The
Yeah.
internet goes across the globe, except for maybe Greenland and and then the north,
Yeah.
the far northern territories. But
It's just too cold up there.
When there are attacks
Yeah.
of Internet of Things devices, they tend to look at where these signals are coming from, And you look at the heat zones, the hot zones, and
Yep.
typically reds and pinks are the hotter than the cold blues. That's where the most of them are coming from. That's where your
traffic.
population is. That's where your connections are.
Yep.
And how do you go across the globe and try to say you are responsible for policing that traffic?
Yeah.
I would say if you could say, all of a sudden here's an island off of this coast and it seems to be coming from there, somebody could disconnect that island's
Yeah,
internet
just
connection.
just unplug them and say fix it.
But that island has more than one,
Right.
and I don't know. It
Yeah,
hasn't kept me from
changed.
losing my sleep.
It's changed since I was in the military because we were on the northern coast of Germany and, around a listening station where we were in a room about as big as this, and there was like a guy and a radio all along the wall, maybe a dozen of them, listening to all the
Different chatter.
Signal
Right.
intelligence.
and then we also had a huge set of binoculars watching the ship traffic
Oh.
that comes
Okay.
out of the channel that kind of like serves Russia. And there was another Russian ship watching us.
Yeah. Oh, whoever
But-
we're watching, we're definitely getting looked back.
But now it's all electronic,
Yes.
or some of it is.
Yeah. I'd say probably 80% of it is. For every country.
And some of those jobs are being done by machines and computers.
Right. Those algorithms we talk about, and face recognition and all that stuff.
And Terminator.
We try to stay on the technology side of certain arguments. The rest of those isn't fit for being on Tech Talk. But the part that has always gotten to me is here we know that we're having trade talks with another country and we're doing tariffs and we're getting into aluminum and steel and sorghum and tariffs. And then we go, yeah, but you've gone and stolen all of our intellectual property from Northrop Grumman and from Boeing, and pretty soon it gets real difficult in a State Department and Department of Agriculture and your Commerce Department to know when you're allowed to have that conversation about, let's all be fair to each other. And so it's it's a lot more complicated than you think. And I think people that get into office and then they start being put on committees, they go like, it's a lot more complicated. And then when all of a sudden you're put on to a classified security level, and all of a sudden they read you those things that don't make the news, then you start getting real concerned.
Worried about it.
But I don't know.
We
All
still
right,
got tons
so
of
now you
topics.
can go home and rest and sleep easy at night.
Well, what do we do next month? Talk about, it's not Christmas time. That's when we talk about
No,
fun
it's
stuff.
May.
Yeah. We still got plenty of topics that we didn't get to.
Oh, the new Windows spring update's been pulled back.
Yeah. I still want to hear about the ransomware prevention. Maybe we
So,
can hit more there. So.
In May, that will be released hopefully by Microsoft, and we'll talk about how the software and OS companies are trying to make our lives safer by planning into the chip architectures and into the OS things that will protect us.
We are out of time.
Right.
So.
Thanks for watching Tech Talk, and we'll see you next month.